Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of The Broken Wheel. So what I want to do with this video is to give you a general knowledge of the world that the Wheel of Time takes place in. I had never read any of the books when I started watching Game of Thrones. So many things either didn't make sense to me or I just didn't understand. In a book, there is usually exposition so that the reader understands the context of what is happening. On TV, that is harder to do, though the writers do try so that the audience isn't totally lost. Think of this as Wheel of Time 101. This video will be spoiler-free and will cover what is seen in the first book, mostly. Other topics will be covered in future videos, and I will give spoiler warnings as needed. With that said, let's begin. The best place to start is by talking about the One Power. This is the energy that is used or channeled by individuals to manipulate the universe. These channelers are essentially like wizards in the Wheel of Time. On the continent that most of the narrative takes place in, the people that use the One Power are called Aes Sedai, which means servants of all in the old tongue. The One Power comes from the true source, which is composed of a female and male half, Sedar and Sedin, respectively. All the universe was created by a being known only as the Creator. While the Creator isn't worshipped as God, it is held in great reverence and portrayed as a force for good. The universe is governed by a weaving of destiny called the pattern, which is turned out in cycles along the Wheel of Time. At the time of creation, the Creator sealed away an evil entity named Shaitan, more commonly called the Dark One. This early time is known as the Age of Legends and is remembered as a golden age of sorts for humanity. At some point, a group of Aes Sedai released the Dark One from its prison in the hopes of gaining power. These Aes Sedai would later become known as the Forsaken. With the Dark One unleashed, turmoil like never before erupted as the worst of human nature was set free. This time also saw the creation of the Shadow Spawn with the help of the Forsaken. These creatures would form the ranks of the Dark One's armies in what is called the War of Power. The forces of the light rallied behind a single leader named Luz Therin Telamon, or the Dragon as he would later be known. He was the highest-ranked Aes Sedai of the Age of Legends and the most powerful channeler the world had ever seen. The war would reach its climax when Luz Therin Telamon led 100 of the strongest male channelers, or the 100 companions, against the Dark One itself in a decisive strike. The attack was successful, and the Dark One was sealed inside of the mountain Sheol Ghul, along with all 13 of the Forsaken. However, before being sealed away, the Dark One, in an act of spite, tainted the male half of the true source Sedin. This taint would cause all men who channeled the One Power to go insane, kill everyone close to them, and die horribly. This would trigger a time known as the Breaking of the World. This cataclysmic event would see all nations collapse and the landscape turn asunder as male Aes Sedai went mad and unleashed their powers on the world. After several decades of strife, and every man that could channel died, as well as anyone that carried their bloodline, the world began to rebuild and establish the nations and kingdoms that exist in the present time. However, a prophecy was told that the Dark One would escape from its prison once more, and that the dragon would return as the Dragon Reborn to face the Dark One at Tarmon-Gidon, or the Last Battle. This confrontation of light against dark is the backbone of the story if you hadn't already guessed. I'd like to next expand on some topics as well as flesh out the world as a whole. I have no idea what elements will be in the show, so please don't be surprised if certain things I talk about are not actually in the show. So the writer of the Wheel of Time series, Robert Jordan, rest in peace, liked to play around with cultural and societal norms in creating the nations and people of the world. So if it seems like a culture is a blending of several cultures that we know on Earth, it is most likely deliberate. One of the best examples of this is that the world is mostly a matriarchy, female dominant. Most monarchs and governors tend to be women, whether this is due to only women being able to channel or not, who is to say? In small farming villages where there is an elected mayor, there will always be a council of women whose authority is not challenged. The Aes Sedai still exists to the present day, but it is now obviously an all-female order. Due to the events of the breaking of the world, channelers are seen as the cause by most and are therefore mistrusted. Some nations still have respect for the Aes Sedai, though they are in the minority. However, because of their knowledge and power, very few rulers will be without an Aes Sedai advisor, whether they will admit it or not. Even though the breaking of the world saw the death of all men that could channel, occasionally a man is born that can naturally channel. They will often think that they are the dragon reborn, whether from madness or just plain ego, and build a following around themselves. These men are called false dragons, and are swiftly hunted down by the Aes Sedai before they can cause too much damage. There is one other race besides humans that exist in the world, the Ogier. They stand around 7 to 8 feet tall, have wide facial features and long, tufted ears. They are renowned for their mason and stonework, as well as their peaceful disposition. Ogier live considerably longer than humans, to the point that a 90-year-old would be considered barely an adult. Now, the Tuatha-An, or simply the Tinkerers, or traveling people, are a nomadic group of people that live in caravans of brightly painted wagons. They follow a philosophy of pacifism, which they call the Way of the Leaf. Tinkerers abhor violence to the point that they will not raise a hand even in their own defense or that of others. Even touching an instrument of violence is anathema to them. A gleeman is a traveling entertainer, most recognizable by their cloak of many colored patches. They perform all types of entertainment, including singing, acrobatics, playing instruments, and storytelling. A gleeman coming to a small town or village is often considered a grand event and a welcome interruption of excitement to small town life. While there are more types of Shadowspawn that I will name here, I am just going to go over the ones that are most common that you'll see in the first book. First are the Trollocs. These are the foot soldiers of the Dark One's military force and are an amalgamation of human and animal. They will have a humanoid form, but with features of goat, bovine, avian, or canine, to name a few. They are larger than an average human, standing over 7 feet tall on average. The second are the Myrddraal, though they go by many other names in different regions. These Shadowspawn look human except for their lack of eyes, though they can see perfectly well in light or dark. They are smaller than Trollocs, but far more dangerous and cunning. They typically can be found leading groups of Trollocs, making them the captains of the Dark One's army. The last I will talk about are the Drakkar. Because of their wings, these creatures act in a reconnaissance role in battle or as spies. Their mostly human appearance makes them good at blending in, with the wings being easy to hide under a cloak. They are much more frail than other Shadowspawn, so they are rarely used in a combat role. Though they aren't Shadowspawn, it is worth mentioning that there are humans that serve the Dark One in the hope of gaining power, wealth, or whatever they desire. They have no powers or abilities, but are valuable as infiltrators and informants. These people are generally called Dark Friends. The Children of the Light are a zealous military force with a self-proclaimed mission to hunt down all Dark Friends and other evils. They have no allegiance to any ruler, nor do they recognize any authority save their own. The Children of the Light refer to themselves as the Children, though most simply call them White Cloaks, which they are not fond of. Since the One power was used in the breaking, they see anyone who can channel as touched by the Dark One and should therefore be eliminated, including the Aes Sedai. This should cover most of what you're going to want to know in the Wheel of Time show. I plan to go into these subjects in more detail in future videos, so please keep an eye out. If you like this video, leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. Be well, and may the light protect you.